Ready.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Hello. I am your host, Asaph Adonai, and welcome to Asaph Cafe. And affectionately on my left, our aging rocker, Emmett. And,
Oh, did we do a sound check, by the way, or
it's
not?
already been done.
All right, great.
And, before we start, let me just tell the television audience, because they probably aren't going to know. We are in the set of a television show from the past called The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis. That's the name of the show, The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis. You want to start us off?
Yes, Heavenly Father, bless our time together, bless the show and our soda pop and our fellowship in Jesus' name.
Amen. I'm in agreement. Now, I probably won't be doing too much playing today because I want to talk about this show because this show was incredibly funny in its time.
Thing is, you'll have to fill me in because I've never seen the show.
I will, and I'm going to fill in with the television audience. Now, the name of the show is called The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis, and it aired starting in 1959. It aired on CBS from 1959 to 1963, and it's the first American television program produced for a major network to feature teenagers as lead characters.
Interesting.
If you look at these characters, they're all teenagers in high school. Now, let me introduce the characters. On the far left of the screen, that's the actor Dwayne Hickman. He plays Dobie Gillis. Next to him on his left, you may recognize him, Bob Denver. A very young Bob Denver who went on to become Gilligan on Gilligans Island. This is way before he was Gilligan. See how young he was in there? And he plays Maynard G. Cripps, who is the beatnik. He has a love for jazz music, like the artists like Dizzy Gillespie, Thelonious Monk, and so on. He's Dobie's best friend, but he doesn't like Lawrence Welk.
Very strange.
That was another reason why it was funny, because it wasn't mean-spirited when they said they didn't like the music of Lawrence Welk, because Lawrence Welk was really in his heyday in that time period. So a lot of comedians targeted him out, and it just made the show work, the characters, because they're high school students, you have to remember. So they're not going to necessarily appreciate Lawrence Welk the way you and I would.
Yeah.
And that's what adds to the comedy. On the further left in the center of the screen is Hilda. Now, she has a crush on Dobie, but Dobie doesn't have a crush on her because Dobie wants a girlfriend. You know, if you look at the synopsis of this show here, it revolves around teenager Dobie Gillis, who aspires to have popularity. He wants popularity, he wants money, and he especially wants the attention of beautiful but unattainable girls. And that's what added to the comedy, because every episode he would see a girl in high school, he'd try to win her over, and she was really beautiful, hot. And so he would try to scheme with his friend Maynard about how to get this girl. And that added to the comedy, because Maynard would say, "You're sneaky, you're a good, kind friend, but you're also sneaky and conniving," kind of thing. And it just added to the comedy.
Yeah. And
on the right of your screen is Dobie Gillis' parents. And his father owned a bakery, I believe it was, like a tiny little mini cafe or store, like. And it was funny because when you're in high school, your parents don't think you want to work a job. They just, you know, because you're in high school, you just want to, like, surf on the beach all the time and do stuff that high school students do. And that added to the comedy because of the clash between Dobie Gillis and his father, because his father wanted him to work in the shop. Because Dobie would always want money. Money for the car, money for gas, money to take a girl out on a date. But he didn't work. So his father was trying to get him to work a job, even if it's just a little bit in the family store. Whereas the mother would defend Dobie and say, "Oh, he's just a high school student. He needs to have money to go out on a date," and you know, that sort of thing. And it was always funny, you know, just add to the comedy. Now the actor next to the candelabra, I don't know his name. I can assume that he was probably one of the high school students.
Interesting.
Dobie's friends. But this show was really fun. I'm gonna play the theme song here. It went something like this.
Hmm. What were beatniks anyway? Weren't they the forerunners of the hippies?
Something like, yeah. They, I wouldn't say necessarily forerunners. It's hard to explain, but they were kind of like not necessarily anti-cultural.
Yeah.
They were like very tame, really tame.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to the punk rockers or
Yeah, the hippies, yeah, whatever.
or the hippies. And,
Uh-huh.
and very, very tame. But this show here just it was just extremely funny. It was not a mean-spirited show. They didn't have mean-spirited comedies in that time period. So even the antisocial people of that time period were funny.
Yep.
And stuff. Because they conformed. They just sort of non-conformed a little, but would conform. So let me try to get that melody again. And tell me if you recognize it.
Don't. Never heard it. I used to have a goatee too. You know, back before I went punk, I tried to be a hippie. Seriously, folks. We probably discussed this, but oh yeah, I was. You know, back from 1986 to about 1989. Thing is, I'd learned about the hippie, culture in high school and history, and I wanted to be a hippie. I really wanted. And I even told the kids at school, I want to be a hippie. My stepfather wouldn't allow it, but once I moved out. I did not know how to dress hippie, though. I had slacks and a white t-shirt, but I had very long hair down to my shoulders, and I couldn't grow a beard. I could only grow a goatee and a mustache and a long goatee. I had to cut my hair because my boss was complaining at work about it. Yeah. She said there were a lot of customer complaints.
You know, I went through something like that when I was probably in my 20s. There was this lady that had a shop. She had like a little restaurant near where my grandparents lived. And she would have me go in there and maybe serve people, help prepare food at the time. It was a tiny little restaurant. And I used to get a lot of complaints from some of the customers. She'd come to me, "You don't like the way you comb your hair, Asaph." And just stupid stuff, you know? Just really stupid. Kind of like this show. Really stupid, you know?
I know.
And it just didn't make any sense to me
Yeah,
at all.
I know.
But, that's the way it was in that time.
I know. Well, this was the 80s. But, she even said, my boss said to me, if you want to keep your job, you've got to cut your hair, and trim your beard. And also, sometimes I would, have to kneel because I was the part-time janitor. And I had slacks on. And my clothes would, get dirty because I was kneeling and cleaning old, trash cans and that kind of thing. She assumed I just went around in dirty clothes when it was the job that was making me dirty. So I had to wear an apron, and I had to get a social worker and try and explain all this to kind of smooth things over. But I got my hair cut and my beard trimmed. Yeah, she let me keep the job. But she was really shocked that I actually cooperated. She was sheepish.
Yeah, I know. I would do that too, so I know what that's like.
Yeah, she either thought that I was probably going to come in drunk and intoxicated and said, I don't need you to talk to me that way. Or I was going to come in with a chainsaw and kill people. She thought it was dangerous.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I had sure bosses like that in my time too.
Yeah, it was just crazy. Ironically, the same bosses let me become a punk rocker. I asked permission, can I get a mohawk from one of my bosses said, yeah, you can have a mohawk as long as you keep a baseball cap over your head, So when I went punk in 1993, they allowed it. Just keep a ball cap over your head. Wasn't that great? Maybe I'd gained their trust or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just that's just the way it was in that time period.
I know.
The relationship between bosses and teenagers. So
yeah.
There was I think I told you that story in a cafe once. When I was 16 years old, my parents were having some marital issues.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have much clothes in that time period. I had these bright yellow, like corduroy pants. I mean, they were bright yellow. And I went into this restaurant to apply for a job, and they had this African American boss in this restaurant. And he looks me up and down. And you think you're going to get an application with those pants on, young man? I said, yes, sir. And he made me go home to change clothes, and he wouldn't give me the application. And it bothered me because I'm thinking, this man doesn't know my financial situation. He's just looking at me on the surface and making a judgment call, and he wouldn't give me an application.
That's crazy. Just because you had overalls?
Well, no, I had these. They were like these. I want to say corduroy pants. They were bright yellow, kind of really bright. But I didn't have any clothes because of what was going on in the family, and I didn't tell him that. But it just bothered me because he just made an assumption that I was just some teenager, just anti-establishment, or didn't want to dress properly or something. Jeez. And he would not give me the application. He said, "Young man, you go home and change your clothes, and I'll give you an application." This was in a restaurant in Sacramento, so I licked my wounds on my way home that day. I never went back to that restaurant. But see, I think that the show Dobie Gillis, dealt with issues. Remember I told you it was, it dealt with issues? Yep. And I think that's part of the issues that this show dealt with, but it did it in such a humorous, funny way, not mean-spirited like television went on to become. Yeah. And stuff like that. But I'm going to do a story on Bob Denver later on today, the actor that went on to become Gilligan. And you can see, when you even look at this photograph, you can see how funny this man was. And you've heard the term breakout character?
Yes.
Bob Denver became the breakout character on this show because he was so funny and so popular as the best friend, see? And that doesn't happen often on a television show. Usually there's a main character like Dobie Gillis here. They're the star, right? But there's always one character that might end up being more funnier and gets more, he just stands out more than the lead character. And that's not to be critical. That's just because of comedy. And I think that's what happened in the case of this show with Bob Denver. And then, of course, he went on to become Gilligan, and you know how funny he was in it.
Oh, I love Gilligan's Island. I have all 3 seasons on DVD.
Dude, it's a...
Yep. I was finally laid off of my 4B's job in about March or so of 1995. They let go of their part-time help, the part-time janitors.
Yeah.
It was kind of sad, but I was kind of, it ended up being for the best.
How's
because
that?
I was always getting sick.
Oh, I see.
Colds and flus and, cleaning in a grimy environment like that, you'll get sick, and there were a lot of transients that came in, so it's just, my health improved after I was laid off.
Well, sometimes it depends on the environment and the atmosphere, too, where you're at in a certain situation that can help with your health. You hear these stories about people living in homes that are not dust-free until they get I can't think of the term, they get the right filters and things, stuff like that. But anyway, getting back to Dobie Gillis and getting back to Bob Denver, I'm singling him out because he really stood out on this show. Well, all of these people did, including Hilda, the girlfriend, and so on. But Bob Denver just was one of those people that stood out.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, the rest is history. They not only did Gilligans Island, but they did a lot of sequels afterwards.
Interesting.
Like they had the episode with the Harlem Globetrotters on Gilligans Island.
Oh.
Not the television show. I'm talking about the sequels afterwards.
Oh, yes.
And of course they had like the specials with Gilligan's Island. Like when Mr. Howe built the huts.
Oh, yes.
The Hut Hotel on the island. And when they all got off the island and they didn't like civilization.
I remember that
so
movie.
They went back to the island.
Yeah.
And then some of the people from Civilization saw the good things that were going on in the island, so they went over there. Yeah. They had an episode where the actor Martin Landau tried to take over the island and stuff. And, just all this comedy.
I know.
And then, of course, the characters on Gilligan's Island. What was funny was they couldn't get off that island.
Yeah.
But all the visitors could get on the island, like
I know.
Ron Way Feldman.
I remember that one, yeah.
And Congo, the ape guy.
Congo, the ape guy?
Well, he was a human, but he was like broad shoulder.
Oh, you mean the surfer guy?
Yeah, they called him Congo, and he was trying to get a part in a movie. So he goes to the island to pretend that he's an ape man, like Tarzan. But he gets caught by the people on Gilligans Island. So of course he doesn't want to lose his contract. He went there to see if he could pretend, because
I remember that one.
If he could fool the islanders, then he would be able to fool the producers, and they'd give him a job as an actor.
I remember that, yeah.
And they had other characters on the show, and they were always able to get on the island, but the people that were the castaways couldn't get off the island. And then also, another running gag with Gilligans Island, the professor could take like a coconut,
I know,
turn it into a radio, but couldn't fix the 3 holes on the ship to get them
I
off
know.
the island and stuff. So that was a running gag.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't mean-spirited, it was just fun.
Yeah, it was just hilarious.
And also, Gilligan, of course, dim-witted and bumbling, but his bumbling would end up saving the lives of the castaways.
Yeah, sometimes,
stuff like that on certain episodes. So there was always just room for humor. And Mr. Howell, of course, was very rich, so he didn't like to work either.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And Gilligan's Island was just a very, very funny show.
It was.
Now, getting back to Dobie Gillis, that show ran for 4 seasons.
Huh.
It's not bad for 1959.
No.
In that time period, a show based on teenagers.
Yeah.
That's not a bad
I
run.
know. I was going to say something. Oh, yeah. I think I've already told the audience this a few years ago. But I think it was the early 80s, maybe about 1983 or so. Do you remember Saturday morning cartoons?
Yes, I do.
They made one of the worst cartoons ever. It was called Gilligans Planet.
I've heard of it. I never saw it.
I saw the premiere episode. I thought, I love Gilligan's Island. Would Gilligan's Planet be good? Because they went to another planet,
Yeah.
It was so stupid and unfunny, and it was badly drawn. The animation was terrible.
Yeah,
it was
and
cheap.
that's no fault of the actor Bob Denver.
I know.
Because I don't think he has control over that. It's like that Lost in Space cartoon. That was pretty lame too.
I never saw the Lost in Space cartoon.
Yeah, Dr. Smith was Dr. Smith.
Yeah.
Cowardly and so on. And it was badly drawn, like you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
And just, sometimes they'll get a good television show, and then they'll turn it into a cartoon, and it's really bad.
I know.
It's horrible. The story-wise,
Yeah.
the animation, it's just bad.
I know, like Gilligan's Planet,
Yeah. And, of course, Star Trek, the Star Trek cartoon was pretty decent.
Yeah, it was all right. It wasn't great.
Well, maybe not great, but at least the animation was a lot better than some of these other television shows that become cartoons and stuff like that.
Yeah, case in point, Gilligan's Planet. That was just a terrible... man, that was a disaster.
I never saw that, but I can only
You
imagine
missed nothing.
Like the Lost in Space cartoon, like I mentioned, was pretty bad.
I never even saw that one.
Yeah, I don't know how long it lasted, but it was just not good.
Yeah.
Let's talk about cartoons, because there's some cartoons that are just pretty lame in the past.
Yeah. They did one of...
Captain Caveman.
Oh, that was so bad. Captain Caveman.
Yeah, that was kind of lame.
Oh, that was a disaster. Hong Kong Phooey was another disaster.
That was another
lame
cartoon
torture.
too.
It wasn't even real karate. I don't know, but man, whoever came up...
Hong Kong Phooey, that was pretty lame.
Who came up with that? Who and why? Or, there was another awful, stupid cartoon. It was called The Impossibles.
I don't know them. But, and there were some pretty decent cartoons, like the Flintstones.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
They're running that on MeTV right now.
I know.
And the Adam Ant was good. All the HannaBarbera cartoons were really funny. And they were well drawn.
I think The Impossibles was probably HannaBarbera. I'm not sure,
I
or
don't think so,
Captain
because I
Caveman.
told you that story. I was at the HannaBarbera studio in
Oh,
real life
yeah.
before the computers came out. I actually went to the HannaBarbera studio in Hollywood, and they gave me a tour. I think I was in my late 20s at that time. They actually gave me a tour and showed me how cartoons were done then, because they used to be hand-drawn, you know, before the computers came out. And they took me on this hallway, this corridor, where they had these professional portrait-sized drawings of all the cartoon characters. Snagglepuss, Huckleberry Hound, if you remember him.
Vaguely.
The Flintstones, Adamant, and all the rest of those characters, the fun characters. Tomcat. I don't know if you remember Tomcat.
No.
And he was just this cat that used to wear this hat. He was kind of cool cat in the neighborhood. And Yogi Bear and Boo Boo.
Yeah.
Those are pretty cool. All those cartoons are pretty cool. And of course the Warner Brother cartoons are pretty cool too. You know, Bugs Bunny and Sylvester.
I never
Tweety
I never cared for Bugs Bunny.
Bugs, you know,
Bored
Bugs
me.
Bunny carried all those characters. If it weren't for Bugs, I don't think there would be no Warner Brothers cartoons that we know of, like Tweety.
I didn't care. I didn't care for those either.
Foghorn Leghorn. Boy, I said, boy. You know,
never heard of that. Never heard of that one. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the big rooster that talked too much. You know, they had this episode where
never heard of it.
They had this episode on the cartoon one time where, you know, because Foghorn would just talk, he just talk a hole in your head. Yeah, I remember when I was like this age here, and I would do such and such, and he just go on and on. And they had a scene where these bad guys were doing like this robbery or whatever it was, and they were telling him to shut up, and they go, shut up. He goes, yeah, I always shut up when people tell me to shut up. You never have to tell me twice to shut up. I'll shut up when a person tells me to shut up in a minute. And then the bad guy says, well, shut up, shutting up. You get it? You get the joke?
Vaguely.
Shut up, shutting up. They told him to shut up. He was still talking, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so they told him to shut up, shutting up. You know, when they told him to shut up the first time.
Yeah.
It's a joke. But, yeah, Foghorn would just make you want to just go like this.
Yeah,
he would just talk. And there was this little tiny hen that Foghorn would always try to mess with. He was a little tiny little hen, but he'd get even with Foghorn Leghorn and teach him a lesson.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was a kid, we watched all those cartoons.
Interesting. Yeah,
because they were in their heyday. They were on regular television.
Yeah.
Not shows like MeTV and so on at that time, you know. They
Yeah.
were on regular television. And they came on every Saturday morning from 7 a.m. till about noon.
Yeah, I
Nothing
remember
but a
those good
bunch
old
of
days, yes.
Cartoons. You know, they had the Archies. They had Tomfoolery. They had, oh goodness, Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man.
Yes.
And just all these cartoons that... me and my brother and my sister would literally watch from 7 a.m.
Yep.
It's funny because you don't want to get up at 7 a.m. to go to school, but you get up on a Saturday morning and watch all those cartoons. And my parents would let us watch all those cartoons from 7 a.m. till about noon. We just sit in front of that television set watching the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner show. And it went something like this. Let's see if I can remember it.
Did you ever like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, the movie?
Something like that. It went like that. Huh? Say it again?
Did you ever like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure was a movie?
I know of it. I didn't really watch it.
I think in the late 80s or early 90s. I loved it.
I know of it, though.
It was funny. Basically, it was about these two metalheads who loved heavy metal, Bill and Ted. They were flunking history. And they couldn't get it. Well, basically, George Carlin, the actor George Carlin, basically, they were failing history.
That?
Yeah, he was. I think he was. Yeah, but basically, this guy's dad was Ted. Was it Ted or Bill? No, Ted. Ted's father was a very strict police officer, very strict, buttoned down, the whole thing. And because he was failing history, he threatened him with to go to a military school.
Okay.
Well, George Carlin came and said with his sunglasses, "Greetings, my excellent friends." And he had this time machine with him. And says, I've got to help you with your history report. They were trying to even ask people at the Circle K, when the Mongols ruled China and that kind of thing. And George Carlin said, why don't we ask them? Then they met themselves and said, hey, Bill, they came back in another time machine. It looked like a telephone booth. They said, you are going to have the most awesome adventure through history. So basically, they figured out a way to pass the history report. Because they had to make a history report about how these characters from history would view San Dimas High School and the town of San Dimas, California. They said, we are in big trouble. We can't.
Right.
So they went back in time to different time periods, even in the Middle Ages.
To teach him history for real, huh?
Well, they collected historical figures and put them in the telephone booth so they could speak at the report.
That sounds like to me like Rocky and Bullwinkle's Mr. Peabody and Sherman.
It was like that. It was like that.
Mr. Peabody would go back in time.
Yep. So anyway, they got all these historical figures and they spoke at the report and they both got A's. Thing is, George Carlin said, that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to start a rock and roll heavy metal band called Wild Stallions, but they couldn't play. Opening for Ozzy Osbourne or whoever, or opening for Albert Miller, Wild Stallions, and they just went, and they could not even play guitars.
Oh, I see.
Thing is, what happened, the reason that George Carlin was sent from the future to help them with their report, they couldn't afford to be separated. See, Wild Stallions' heavy metal rock music was influential in changing the whole world. It brought world peace, world love to everybody. It aligned the planets in harmony, and they even had, contact with extraterrestrial life. And basically their motto from Bill and Ted was, be excellent to each other and party on, dude. And, the whole world realized if we could just enjoy water slides and be excellent to each other and party on, dude, we could save the whole planet. That's what Wild Stallions music did. Well, because they couldn't afford to be separated and have Ted go off to a military school,
I see.
So that's why, and they got new instruments, and it was a funny movie. They made a stupid sequel called Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Okay.
Oh, that was dumb. It's where they actually started forming their band, and they were living together as roommates. They died. Some sort of evil robot replicas came from the future, and they both ended up killed, and they went to various places in the afterlife, like heaven and hell, and finally they came back to life and saved their girlfriends or some... Oh, it was stupid! Oh, that was a dumb movie. But I loved Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Okay.
They made a cartoon of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure that was stupid.
I know of the show, I just never actually seen it, so
The cartoon was so bad and so badly drawn and animated. They made kind of a live television show that was pretty decent of Bill and Ted's, and that kind of thing, and that was pretty cool, But as far as bad cartoons, the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure cartoon was stupid. But I loved, the original movie. They were even practically illiterate. They called Beethoven Beethoven. Yeah, Sigmund Freud.
Beethoven, yeah. We had a running gag, a joke that used to drive our band teacher crazy.
Yeah.
They called Beethoven Beethoven.
Yeah.
And Chopin, they call him Chopin.
Oh, yeah.
And that would drive the music teacher crazy.
Yeah.
When we do those jokes like that. So, you just made me think of that when you said that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There was this one funny scene, too, when, they had all come back to California. All of these historical figures like Genghis Khan and Sigmund Freud and even, Butch, who was that Western guy that did a whole bunch of, crimes? I don't remember. Billy the Kid. Billy the Kid, and they were all in his phone booth, and I said, okay, folks, we'll take you to the mall. See what you think of San Dimas.
Okay.
They practically wrecked the mall. It was so funny. Well, Genghis Khan was looking at these baseball. He was in the hardware department of the sporting department. You know, he picked up a baseball bat and said he thought it was a weapon. He didn't know where he was, and he started whacking things, and the mall security had to be called. Then Beethoven, was playing music on his kind of electronic guitar, piano, that type of thing, and finally all of the historical figures got arrested by Ted's dad. So they had to break them out of jail, this holding cell, and get them to that report. It was just funny. It's hard to describe. Because it was so visual, but it was funny.
I'll take one of those too. Thanks. Yeah. I don't really know how to play that. I'm not playing it. I'm just trying to figure it out. The theme to Lost in Space.
Yeah. But yeah, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure was one funny movie.
You recognize?
Yes, I do.
Something like that. Something like that. The thing to Lost in Space. Speaking of Lost in Space, on Netflix they got a new Lost in Space series.
Oh, really? They do?
Yeah, it's really high tech. It's
like
cool. Watching Star Wars. It's really high tech.
Yeah.
They still have Will Robinson and all the characters in the robot. And the robot is really, really high tech.
Wow. That sounds cool.
Yeah, I don't know. If you stay over, I'll show it to you. I've got Netflix.
Please, yes.
So I can show you the pilot episode.
Yeah.
The special effects are pretty amazing on there. Even the Jupiter 2 is really changed. It's still round.
Yeah.
It's circular, but it's hard to explain. You have to see it. It's fancy, though. Really fancy. And that robot, I'm not even going to try to explain the robot. He doesn't have like those claws, like.
Oh yeah.
You know, he's just really fancy. He can walk, and talk, and he's got like. It's hard to explain.
It sounds like really cool.
It's got some really cool special effects, and of course, the Robinsons, they love each other like they did in the series, but they're just more independent, more rough, tough kind of.
Yeah.
And Major Don West is, rough character too. And Penny, the children in the family, they're different colors. One, Penny is African American in the series, even though the parents are white. And it's kind of got a little cultural, political connection, but not political correct.
Good.
It's called Lost in Space. It's got the same theme song, not the first one, the one that went like this.
Yep.
Remember this one?
Yes. One thing that disturbed me about the old TV show that I never liked.
It's fancy though, that version.
Well, yeah.
But go ahead.
The older TV show, I didn't think they were that close because who was the little boy? I can't remember his name.
You talking about Will Robinson?
Will, yes. The little boy.
Yeah, Will Robinson.
He only called his father Sir, not even father or dad. That disturbed me.
Well, you got to remember, I don't think there's any reason to be disturbed. That's a different time period, too. They had a different writing system in television in those years, too. You got to remember, we're talking early or late 50s, early 60s. It was television was totally different.
Yeah.
Even their censorship laws television were different. Like when you look at the old sitcoms.
Yes.
You notice that the husband and wives don't sleep in the same bed. They sleep in bunk beds.
Yeah.
The reason for that was so that it would not take away from the comedy when they were in the bedroom scenes. And they were always usually fully clothed or had full pajamas on.
Yes.
It was just a different censorship law.
Yeah.
I guess it just, by the time the Brady Bunch came out, I think they started changing it a little bit. You could see Mike and Carol lying together, but she wasn't like in a scantily negligee, stuff like that. But to answer your question, that's probably why it may seem like Will Robinson wasn't close to his father. But he really was, if you pay attention to the show long.
Yeah. I saw about all the episodes. He seemed only to be really close to Dr. Smith and the robot. I mean, that was it.
I think there's a history about that. Originally, when Irwin Allen created Lost in Space, all the characters had like major roles, as you know. But as time went by, the focus seemed to shift more on Dr. Smith, Will, and the relationship with the robot.
Yeah.
That was Irwin. I read the history of Lost in Space. That was Irwin Allen's idea, and of course the other actors weren't really thrilled with that.
Yeah.
Which they got a point.
Yeah.
But something June Lockhart said, she said, you know, we have to remember, even if we didn't agree with Irwin Allen, it's his show. Mm-hmm. We're just the actors paid to play whatever he wants. It's his show. So Irwin Allen had the right, technically, to shift to the relationship with the robot and Will and Dr. Smith. And, you know, I think it made that show work, if you think about it. Because even though most of the actors of age now are gone, whatever, you think of, when you think Lost in Space, you think the robot, you think Will Robinson, Dr. Smith. If they had to change that, I don't think Irwin Allen knew that at that time. But I don't think Lost in Space would be remembered to the degree it is now if it weren't for the relationship between Will and Dr. Smith and the robot. Just trivia thought. You know,
I just also thought that some of the episodes were really cornball, like really cheesy aliens, really.
Well, yeah, they were, but you know, if you really pay attention to those Irwin Allen shows, I was reading about Irwin Allen. He used some of the same monsters on some of his other shows.
I know.
Like The Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, that's Irwin Allen. The Lost in Space, that's Irwin Allen. The Time Tunnel, that's Irwin Allen. Land of the Giants, that's Irwin Allen.
I liked Land of the Giants.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is some of those shows, they just use the same monsters and different in their shows. But that was Irwin Allen. That was his vision at the time, and that was his creation. They were his shows. He wrote them. Yeah. So, you know, you can't really fault that, you know. So, in between that and the new the writing, you know, let me play this song again. Something like this.
One nice thing, I haven't even watched it yet, but I got the complete series of Space 1999.
Good.
In the mail, yeah.
In the mail?
Yes. Because I ordered, you know, from like Turner Classic Movies, like Critics' Choice or something, you know.
Something like that. Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, something like that. If I just started practicing it, I could probably figure it out. Excuse me. But anyway, excuse me. If you look at the early episodes of Lost in Space, you know how they wore those silver outfits? And you ever notice, like around season 3, I think it was, it sort of had the hippie look. Did you notice that?
I didn't.
They wore those multicolored costumes on Lost in Space.
Yeah, I didn't see that part.
And it was supposed to cater to the hippie movement.
Huh, because I haven't seen the series in so long, you know.
Yeah, if you ever start watching Lost in Space, you'll notice they go from those silver costumes to the multicolored costumes. I was reading the history of Lost in Space, and it had to do with trying to blend in with the hippie movement.
Star Trek did an excellent episode about that.
The hippies? Which one?
Do you, it was, do you remember the one about the hippies that kidnapped the Enterprise? And
okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to go to Eden. It was in the neutral zone.
That was I can't remember the name of it.
Nor do I.
Way to Eden or something.
Yes,
like
the Way to Eden.
But that was an interesting episode.
I loved it.
Dr. Severin was really insane.
He was, yeah.
And he was so technical.
Yeah.
You know, the technology and stuff. He was just such a brilliant technician. That something happened to him because of where he not only started going insane, but it affected his health.
Yes.
So he thought that if he would just go back to a simpler time, he'd
Yes.
be healthy. But he was infected with this disease, and Dr. McCoy tried to tell him
Exactly.
that, but he didn't hear it because of his insanity. So they go on this quest for Eden.
Yes.
And of course, Captain Kirk, they called him Herbert.
Yeah.
And that was funny because Captain Kirk's like rigid, strict, disciplined. It's similar like this Dobie Gillis we're talking about. You know how the kids just want to do their thing. Because they were kind of young in that episode.
Yeah.
I think they're representing young people.
They were.
Hippies a little bit.
Yeah.
Want to be free.
Yeah.
And Captain Kirk is all structured.
Yeah.
And, everything. So Spock was the only one that could relate to these kids.
They wanted to be one.
Music. Yeah. Being music.
Yeah.
Playing music with them. But their intent was to try to find this planet. And of course, Dr. Severin knew he was the carrier of this disease.
Yeah.
So his presence in Eden would affect everything.
Yeah.
But his insanity wouldn't allow him to accept that. So Spock tried to reach out to these people, and of course they turn on the Enterprise. When they get to Eden, and when they go to that planet, that planet's poisonous.
Yeah.
It's beautiful like Eden, but the grass has acid on it, and the fruit is all poison.
Yeah, the water is poisonous. Everything
on
was
that planet,
even the flowers, they would burn you. It just
had acid in the flowers. But that was an interesting episode.
Yeah.
But Spock reached out to these kids and tried to help them find their Eden. And of course, when they rescued the survivors on that planet, Spock would. He said something about he'll try to help them find the real Eden.
Yes.
Not that planet.
Yeah.
So man's always been looking for Eden, at least according to television, We won't really get Eden till we get to heaven.
I know. Well, I loved the song that they sang.
Yeah, it went something like this. See.
Heading out.
Let me see if I can figure it out.
Out to Eden, yea, brother.
Yeah.
Heading out to Eden, yea, brother.
Yeah.
No more worries on my body or my mind. And live like a king on whatever I find. Eat of the fruit and throw away the rind. Yea, brother, yea.
Something like that, yeah.
I just loved it.
Yeah,
I loved that song.
That's an interesting episode.
It's one of my favorites.
Way to Eden. Okay, I have to remember that. You come over sometime.
Please,
We'll go on a Star Trek binge.
Yeah.
Since I have Netflix, I can just run the entire series.
Yeah.
From the first one
all
the way to the end. Intruder. The Intruder Turnabout. That was the last episode.
Yeah.
The one where Dr. Janice Lester
I remember that
her
one.
spirit into Captain Kirk's body.
Yeah.
And takes Kirk's spirit, puts it into her body, so that makes her physically strong because she's in Captain Kirk's body.
Mm-hmm.
That was an interesting episode because if you really pay attention to it, you notice Captain Kirk starts doing feminine things, like doing his nails and stuff like that, even though he's physically strong, because that was really Dr. Lester, because she had a vendetta against Captain Kirk, so she wanted to get even with him because they were lovers once.
Yep.
And Kirk dropped her, so she never got over that, so she wanted to get even.
Yeah.
She took over the Enterprise. She tried to have a mutiny, and she tried to have execution on the Enterprise, and that's what made the crew rebel.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Star Trek is quite the fun series.
It was. There was even a very good song, getting back to the way to Eden.
Mm-hmm.
Once they captured it in the Enterprise, there was... Dr. Severin had some sort of weird sonic weapon that he used.
Yeah.
Made everyone pass out.
Yeah, it was based on sonic.
Yes, exactly.
Affect your hearing and cause you to pass out.
Yeah. Then they started singing, "Stepping into Eden, yay, brother, stepping into Eden."
I bet I could figure it out.
Yeah. Stepping into Eden, yay, brother, stepping into Eden, yay, brother. No more worries in my body or my mind troubles. Gonna live like a king on whatever I find. Eat of the fruit and throw away the rind. Yay, brother.
Something like that.
And then Dr. Severin said, now we may leave.
Yeah. So that was an interesting episode. But Star Trek, like Dobie Gillis, was considered not only groundbreaking but relevant in that time period. Dobie Gillis obviously through comedy and Star Trek through good writing.
You know,
writing.
James Doohan, the person that played Scotty, I saw an interview with him. He said that the least favorite episode that he did was The Way to Eden. He couldn't stand it.
Well, his character didn't like those
hippies
either. They had a scene in there where he's like, I think those kids are disgusting.
Yeah,
And Kirk says, well, Scott, did you get into trouble when you were that young?
Oh, yeah, he said something about, why does a young mind always have to be an undisciplined one?
Yeah. So, but that's relevant if you think about it, because just like Dobie Gillis, you know, these kids, they didn't wear hippie clothes, obviously, but they were doing the same thing in 1959, and they did it through comedy. So I think that's why this show worked at the time.
Yeah.
It really did.
Yeah.
They had a remake years later, Dobie Gillis reunion, I think it was, something like 20, 30 years later in real life at the time. And Hilda and Dobie actually were married in this episode because Dobie never could get the unattainable girls. He winds up marrying Hilda in the remake.
Interesting.
Kind of like Gilligans Island. You know, he's the same characters, but they're all physically older. So, just food for thought. We got about 5 minutes left. This just went by so quick.
Yeah. One nice thing about the real heaven, if you're saved, if you accepted Jesus as your Savior, you will go to Eden when you die.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
We're going to get new bodies, and we'll save that for another topic someday. But in short, we'll get new bodies. And I heard Dr. David Jeremiah say that we'll be able to eat.
Yes.
But you won't have to eat to live.
Right, exactly.
For just enjoyment. No gaining weight.
Yeah.
No having to watch your calories. That's going to be a cool heaven.
It will.
There will be no wars.
Yeah.
The gates of the city will be open 24 hours a day. And you know what? If the streets are made of gold and you walk on gold, then gold must be the least.
Yes.
The least immaterial compared to all of heaven. Because you know, we value gold here on the earth. And if you walk on gold, then that tells me that's probably, it's important, but the least compared to whatever heaven will be.
Yes.
Just food for thought. I mean, I'm no theologian, so I could be dead wrong, but it's just food for thought, you know. And we'll live forever, and you know, stuff like that.
And the grass won't be made of acid, and the fruit will not be poisoned.
Yeah, not like that Star Trek episode. You know, you'll be able to enjoy all kinds of things in heaven.
Yep.
So that's a happy day coming, you know. Very happy day. And when you're like in your 60s, like I am, you feel like you're getting closer to it.
Oh, yeah.
You can relate being in your 50s, so, yep, heaven. Looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah. I've always wanted, the way I've daydreamed about heaven, what I would really like is a cabin in the wilderness. Because, you know, in heaven it'll be perfect. You won't have to be fighting for survival.
Yeah. No, there won't be any of that. There won't be anything. What's mind-boggling to me is being young again.
Yes.
You know, I wish I could be like I was when I was 20.
Yeah.
20 or 21.
Yeah.
Goodness. And know what I know now, but have my my body could be like it was when I really was 20. Oh my goodness. But when we get our new bodies, it's going to be way better.
Yep.
Way, way better. Young again. Billy Graham said we'll be young again.
Yes.
And you can sing and you'll never get tired.
Yep.
Just, you know, stuff like that. I mean, you'll be able to sing for 5 years straight without even breaking a sweat. Not even your vocal cords will be hoarse or anything, you know?
Yeah.
That's just mind-boggling to me, you know?
Yeah, I've always wanted just like, you know, a cabin in the wilderness in heaven, just beautiful, and a meadow, like in a meadow.
You may get that. You may get that.
Maybe a lake just down there, and, you know, have, you know, lawn furniture, a nice table with some wine and some food, and just a simple cabin, and maybe a swing set just behind my cabin. There's an old swing set, and gardens, of course, and that kind of thing. Something simple.
Well, you know, it says in my Father's house in many rooms.
Yes.
Well, the King James's mansions, but that means rooms. Now think about it. This must be a big house that God has.
It is.
Because if you get a room, yet the room is a mansion.
Yeah.
That must be just food for thought.
That must be
something, you know. It must be quite a room. It's probably not a room like a single bedroom like I live in. It's probably a big old house.
No. Some people would have mansions. I would just like a cabin in the middle of nowhere, you know, just on the beautiful wilderness.
You know, if the New Testament says you don't have a clue what's there, you may lay eyes on that and all of a sudden forget about the cabin when you see what God has prepared.
Good point.
It's just you know, if you want to toy around with your imagination and stuff like that. I don't know what heaven's going to be like, but it does say it's going to be wonderful. So, you know, that's pretty cool. And, you got any final words? Because we're literally out of time. And I enjoyed doing this. This is cool talking about Dobie Gillis and Star Trek and, you know, things like that.
Let's see. There were these 2 washing machines, and they were sticking out their tongues at the dryer. It was very fascinating. Then this one dishwasher came along and said, "Oh, I can't see around that."
There you go. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, like I stated, this is the Mini Loves of Dobie Gillis. And if you ever get a chance to watch Dobie Gillis, I'll show you a clip of it, give you an idea.
All right.
It's a really funny show. I know it's very old. It's about, 50, 60 years old now. And, of course, Bob Denver's long gone.
Oh, yeah.
I assume some of these other characters are probably gone now, too. But it was a fun show.
Yeah.
And, that time period. Anyway, I am Asaph Adonai, and affectionately on my left, our AG rocker, Emmett. And Emmett, thanks for hanging out with me.
Certainly.
I really enjoyed this.
Yep.
So I'm going to say goodbye, and then you just stay seated till I walk and turn everything off.
Yep.
So I'm Asaph Adonai, and until our next show, Maranatha. I always freeze on that chord.